All right, so have you ever felt like, you're kind of living somebody else's life? You know what I mean? Like, you're always trying to meet all these expectations, but they're not even really yours?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So today, let's dive deep, right, into how to break free from all that, like how to navigate the weight of all those expectations and really find more freedom, to be yourself.
Sounds good.
And we've got a really interesting piece to guide us in this deep dive. It's an excerpt from Texto Colado. It's got some really, really insightful strategies. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited to dig in. It's wild how often we just internalize these expectations without even realizing it. They kind of become like this invisible force shaping all our decisions.
It's true. It's like this, like an undercurrent, just pulling us along, and we have no idea where we're even going.
Yeah, exactly.
And the excerpt, it really points this out. It talks about how, like, our families and society, even our friends, they kind of condition us to believe what should make us happy or, what should make us successful.
Right. We absorb all these ideas from when we're kids. It gets like ingrained so deep.
Exactly. Yeah. And it really makes you think, right? Like, how many of us chose our careers, for example, because they seemed prestigious or like they would impress people
Right.
instead of like, actually resonating with us deep down.
Totally. Or maybe you're still doing this hobby, that totally janes you.
Oh, yeah.
But you do it because, like, your family always expected it.
Right. Right. I've totally been there. Have you ever felt that kind of pressure, like influencing your choices?
Oh, all the time. It's super common. And that's why the excerpt is so big on, defining your own metrics for success. Because, I mean, if we don't, the world will happily define it for us.
And that definition usually like revolves around external validation, right? Like chasing money, status, all those things that society says, hey, this is success.
Yeah, exactly.
But the excerpt, it really challenges that.
It does. It argues that if you just chase those external markers, it can actually make you feel empty.
Yeah.
Like, true fulfillment comes from aligning your choices with what really matters to you, regardless of if you get any recognition for it.
Right. It's like, what makes me feel good? What makes sense for me? Forget what other people think.
Exactly.
And there's this great quote, actually, right in the excerpt. It says, hold on, what makes me feel fulfilled? What makes sense to me, regardless of what others think?
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good one, right? And like a little reminder to shift that focus inward. So, thinking about that, what does success really look like for you? Like, if you strip away all that external pressure, what would make you feel like, hey, I'm living a successful life?
That's a great question. It's one we should all be asking ourselves.
Totally.
And once we have a better sense of what success really means to us, the excerpt suggests we start setting boundaries,
Yeah.
mastering that art of saying no.
It's funny because the excerpt actually calls saying no a form of self-respect.
In-
But it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like, we often say yes just because we feel obligated or we're afraid of letting people down.
Right.
But every time we force ourselves to say yes, it's like we're saying a big no to our own needs and our own well-being.
That's a good point.
But do you think there's a balance to this, right? Like ignoring what everyone thinks could make you isolated or even, reckless. How do we find that middle ground?
Yeah, I think it's not about like shutting everyone out and just not caring what anyone thinks. It's more about accepting that you can't please everyone all the time and trying will just drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Totally. So the key is to like really put your values and goals first when you're making decisions.
I remember when I first said no to a project that I knew just wasn't right for me. I was so nervous.
Mm,
But it was amazing, like how empowering it felt to just be
wow.
like, no, this isn't for me. It created space for stuff I actually cared about. Have you ever felt that? Like that sense of liberation from saying no?
Oh, totally. It's a great feeling. And I think it ties into another point the excerpt brings up, accepting that you just can't control what other people think.
Oh, man. I used to spend so much time worrying about what everyone thought of me. It was exhausting.
It is.
It's so freeing to realize you just can't control it.
You really can't. And the excerpt really frames this as something positive.
I like that.
Like, instead of obsessing about how you're perceived, it says to focus on your own internal compass. Like, are you living in a way that feels authentic to you?
Right.
Are your choices matching up with your values?
It makes total sense. It's about finding that alignment within yourself,
Yeah.
not needing that validation from outside. And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, right? Cultivating self-confidence.
Yeah, I love how the excerpt connects self-confidence back to that idea of internal validation. Like, when you feel good about yourself, you don't need everyone else to tell you you're doing great.
It's like that feeling when you achieve something you're really proud of. whether anyone else knows about it or not.
Ex
That feeling is way more fulfilling than needing someone else to validate you. So how do we get there? How do we build that unshakable self-confidence?
Well, the excerpt has some practical tips, like celebrating your wins, even the small ones,
Okay, yeah.
and acknowledging your strengths, like what are you good at? What are you proud of achieving, even if it's just for yourself?
So we've talked about a lot, right? Recognizing how those external expectations can really influence us, defining our own version of success, embracing the power of no, accepting we can't control everyone's thoughts, and of course building that self-confidence.
It's a lot.
It is, but it all comes down to finding that freedom, that inner freedom, to live a life that really reflects what you value and what you want.
Yeah, if you put all these pieces together, it brings up a big question. What's one expectation you've been carrying that just doesn't serve you anymore?
Wow, that's a powerful question. Think about that. As you keep going on your own journey, remember what we've unpacked today. Break free from those invisible chains and start living a life that's truly, authentically yours.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.
Yeah, see ya.